Hi, everyone. Welcome to Grab Your Keys. I am very happy to say that I have a new friend of mine. I met him at a Cindy Ertman retreat in California. Brian Covey, he's with CrossCountry, and he does everything big, everything fast. He's full of energy, positive energy. And I was like, I have to have Brian on Grab Your Keys so that our audience can really get a injection of him for building their business, growing fast. I mean, you have it right on here on your LinkedIn. You have build, lead, win. I help leaders grow fast and build championship teams that compete at the highest level. And you sound so much like me because that is also what I do. So I cannot wait to talk to you. So, Brian, thank you so much for being on Grab Your Keys.
Oh, thanks, Sue. I'm excited too. And when we met, I was like, our energy, I could tell right away. I was like, that's somebody I want to hang out with. And I love these collaborations because I just think that's the way we give back to the industry and help out other people with some experience and lessons that we've learned.
Yeah, that's 100%. And I think it's so great when we all collaborate. And, there's enough business in every business to go around. I mean, no one, even Rocket, does not have that big of a market share, in all honesty. And they dump millions, tens of millions of dollars into the marketplace. So mortgages are such a big thing to sell that you don't need to compete with people in your market. You need to collaborate with people in your market. And I feel that when you're loving on people as much as we love on everyone in the United States, that we actually will be at the highest level that we can possibly be.
That's right.
So how did you get into mortgage, Brian?
Oh, man. Well, crazy story of my dream was to play soccer at the professional level. And so I was able to go get a scholarship, play D1 at University of Memphis, and got a great education. I was in Fogelman College of Business, and I love business and economics. I thought, Sue, when I graduated, like most people, I would go get a job and I would just go get hired in a bank. I thought I'd dress up in a
Mhm.
suit, drive the BMW, like all the things. Like there's this picture of success. And I left school early and got to play professional. So I achieved that dream. And I came back and I promised my parents I'd finish my degree. Well, as I started to interview and go try to get that job, no one would hire me. I mean, my experience was like coaching, playing a lot of sports. I really didn't have a lot of work experience. And so I'm going and applying, and nobody's hiring me. I remember just doing odd end jobs, right? I'm coaching soccer teams. I'm helping out my dad with his business. I'm just doing whatever, right? To make some money. And I go to this career fair, and Wells Fargo Financial was there. If you remember, like the credit
Yeah,
side of furniture
absolutely.
financing, auto financing, debt consolidation, personal loans, all this stuff. And they said, look, we hire athletes, we hire people that are hungry, motivated, and driven, and we train you. We don't care if you know anything. We've got a program. And I thought, dude, that's me. And so I was very fortunate in the sense of I didn't get into mortgage. I got into really more consumer finance. So we're underwriting, processing, cold calling 100 people a day. Like we're learning skills that today I go, thank you. Thank you. Because I had a great leader. We sat in I call it the bullpen where everyone could hear everything you're doing. We got coaching, we got feedback, we got all that. About a year and a half into that, so like most people, I was like, man, I don't know if this is for me. Like this thing was a little different. One of my best friends was working in the mortgage side at Wells Fargo. He's like, Brian, you know all these realtors, you're sending me all these referrals. Like, at that time they were quoting like 7% rates, kind of like today. And I'm over here quoting like 15,
Mhm.
20% to do stuff. He's like, it's so much easier. So I go over there for a whopping $2,000 a month, guaranteed for 2 months.
Yeah.
I'll never forget a manager's like, here's your laptop, here's some guidelines and things. And I said, well, can I have a mentor? Because I knew that in sports was like, if I could have a mentor. And so I was fortunate to have a gentleman named Donald Simpson. I sat in the same 10 by 10 office as Donald for probably 6 months. And he was a veteran and he would just teach me. He would give me feedback. He would go on sales calls with me, all of that. And so that was my entry into mortgage. And I got into a good time because 2001, I started at financial. And of course, we know through 2003, 2004, five, like I got a lot of reps is what I tell people
Right.
is in the consumer side. But then when I came to mortgage, that's how I got my entry. And, it's, gosh, what is that? 24 years later, I'm still here, and I love it. Every day is a little
And
different.
it's the reps. I
Yeah,
always say, by getting a mentor, I had multiple mentors. And by getting a mentor, you actually can figure out what your rap is by what their rap is. And so you
yeah,
know what you're constantly saying and you're practicing your scripts.
that's
And
right.
I don't think that anyone realizes the amount of times that the professional, the expert, the people who we are today, how many reps we actually did. And by that constant calling, you're honing your skills.
Yeah.
And I think that people think today they can just go in and we're such immediate gratification people. This is not an immediate gratification sport in any way, shape, or form.
No, no, I lean back on those experiences and remind myself now, even in the recruiting and prospecting agents, and I love financial planners. So a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
people that I'll call, and it's like, hey, you know what? Every call is not going to be a yes, but every call should be me adding value. Every call should be making a connection. You never know where those go. And I just think back to how many calls it took me back in those seasons to get an opportunity. And so
Right.
now I just know you got to continue to sharpen the saw, put reps in. If you do that every day, you will win.
Right. What do you feel your three keys to success have been?
I'll say in the last few years, one of the areas I've focused on, and I know I've improved because I can go back, is I started a podcast about 5 years ago. And this is really cool to go back and look for anybody that's done it, or if you're thinking about it, is early on, I can go back and I can listen to my product. And it was bad, but it was a starting point. Like everybody, when you learn to do something that's new, you're fumbling through it. I mean, the technology to just how I ask questions, how I showed up, and everything, I listen back and go, man, that's a different version of Brian. And I think for
Mm-hmm.
all of us, we need to think about that as like, are we growing and do you have a way to measure that success? And for me, communication, right? I've invested in that with Rene Rodriguez. I've gone on a lot of different things with Phil Jones and learned from him. And so I'm learning that communication to me is the pillar, whether it's relationships. I'll be married 23 years this year, 3 kids, leading teams.
Awesome.
If you can't communicate well, you cannot move the team in sports or business towards the vision and the mission. And so I says, I know a lot of really good people, but if they can't communicate well, like I literally just got off a call this morning, Sue, and I'm listening to someone and they're talking about how bad the communication is where they are. And I'm like, well, tell me about that. And they're like, it's not there. When it is there, it's vague. And so where does that leave people? It leaves them like filling in what Renee calls this narrative gap. And I think about communication for me has been something that I want to continue to build on. The other one we talked about at Cindy's group is I believe there's a superpower in all of us if we can tap into your presence. And presence to me is your energy, it's your focus, it's where you have yourself. And too many people today, if you just look around in an airport, you look around in a sales meeting, it could be a Zoom call, people are distracted all the time. We have devices, we have TVs, we have even just our brain saying, oh my gosh, I got this to-do list. Oh my gosh, my kids have got to do this. To be fully present, I go back to when I played sports. My dad was a psychologist, and I remember he would teach us visualization. He would teach us how to focus. And if you can learn this superpower of being present with someone, and if you can make 10 minutes count, I think that's more powerful than an hour of you being halfway in the conversation.
I
I
think
want
that
to,
people are yearning for that right now, that presence,
yes,
for people to look you in the eye, for people to have that communication skill. For everyone, it's the way that we're going to be able to survive is actually through the communication, the presence, and the relationship. So you've
that's it.
already touched on two of those. Like, how are you effectively communicating? And number two of success is being present in every walk of life. And you're right, even if you give 2 minutes or 10 minutes of presence, they think it's the way you've made them feel. Because
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where my phone is on my desk because but because you want to be present and you're getting the dings. I put my phone on silent all the time
Yeah.
and I've just learned not to listen to what's on my wrist, or feel what's on my wrist, because I do want to be present. And I think that we are we need to hone that skill again.
And you hit on something, Sue. I want people, they're listening, they're like, I just struggle with this, or, this is something I'm not good at. Great. Your first step is awareness. And I got aware of that because one, my wife, my kids, I started looking around like, man, I'm on my phone. I've got this distraction. I got this notification. I got this. And I started like not enjoy certain moments. I'm like, hold on, someone say something and I didn't hear them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that is not the standard. That is not the way I want to show up. So your self-awareness is there. The second part you touched on this is like a muscle. The more you work it out, the more you work on that skill, the better you get at this. And so I just want to encourage anybody out there, if you're like, man, Brian, that's me, I'm struggling with this. I've been sharing this, and you got to hear it as I shared that at Cindy's. More
Yes.
people, as I've done this presentation, have reached out to me and gone, Brian, thank you. Thank you. Because I didn't even realize how far I was out of alignment and not showing up. And so I would tell you, and I'm going to invite you on the journey, is it's not easy. It's going to be messy. You're going to screw it up. There's no perfection in this. But if you can move towards being present, your clients, your relationships that matter to you are going to go deeper. And I just want you to think about this: is if all your referral partners knew that you were present and you paid attention to the details and you remembered things and you were actually there, how different would you be than your competition? It isn't the rate. It isn't how quickly you do this or that. Like, yes, some of those things matter, but if you're locked in and present, that relationship goes deeper, the trust goes deeper. So I'll say
I
that. And
think it's taking it that extra step. So I had a realtor of mine in my 20s tell me in person, because she cared about me, that she felt that I was dismissive because I was so busy, that when I finished with her, she felt that I was dismissing her. And so I was like, wow, I never want you to feel that way. Thank you so much for telling me this. And I took a Post-it. It's in my book that I wrote. I took a Post-it and I put short in the middle of the Post-it in capital letters. I put a circle around it and I put a line through it. And back in the day when you were only using your actual phone, I posted it right on top of my phone, like right on the wall on top of my phone. And before I would get off the phone, I would make sure that I would ask a follow-up question. Instead of saying, okay, we've talked about everything, I would have a follow-up question or a follow-up statement. So before I got off the phone, we completely finished it and they didn't feel that I had dismissed them. That stayed in my office for decades.
yes.
So, and it was such a gift that this realtor, who gave me 63 deals in 1 year, said, Sue, I feel that you dismiss me. And if I feel that way, my clients feel that way. How can we make that work? Because I love you. And I did the short. I said, you will never have that problem with me again. But the presence, that was before tons of, like, even before all the distractions of today, because lots of people are that type A personality and they just want to go, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next.
Right.
We need to make sure that we're internalizing it so that we're present. And I agree with you. And I bet if I really looked at my desk today, I could find that short Post-it because I carried it for years.
Oh.
So I totally agree. So we have communication, we have presence. What's the third key?
Third one's going to be discipline. And I was going to tell you is my coach talks about this all the time. And this word's used, but I want to go a little deeper with people's. My coach, one of them's Ben Newman, and we talk about standards. And he shared this with me years ago. Brian, your standards have to be stronger than your feelings. And if you can relate, like for me, sometimes going to work out, making that sales call, going in and doing the preparation that I know I need to do. My feelings tell me, hey, Brian, you've done enough. You've worked all these years. Like, you don't need to do the extra preparation before last week speaking at the Housing Wire, before coming on a podcast, before meeting with a client to give them strategies to build wealth, right? And maybe to buy or refinance, whatever they're doing. You don't need to prepare for that real estate meeting in front of that team. You got it. And how many of us are winging it? We're going through the motions. And I would just tell you, what I learned last year is I was pretty fit. And I decided, you know what? I'll be 47. I'll be 48 this year now. And I was like, after spring break, I looked at some pictures, our families in the Bahamas and all this. I'm going, man, beautiful, best trip of our, we all agree, like best trip ever. Right. And I'm looking at it going, that's not how, like, I've slipped. Like I'm slacking. I might be headed down a direction that, this, like you never really get there overnight, success or out of line, but it's days stacked going the wrong way. And I said, how many days, how many months have I allowed myself just to have that cheat meal, go get those Oreos, not do the work, skip a workout here? And I said, you know what? The next 6 months, I'm going to see what my life looks like if I just go all in. And I took it 90-day sprints. And so I have this framework that I actually coach on now. I said, for 90 days, I'm just going to lock into this. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go extreme, because for me, that works. And I said, this is what I'm going to do, one day at a time. And I'm here to tell you, like, I literally dropped 8% body fat, which for me, I was like, I was already pretty fit. That's really freaking hard. But what I
That's very hard.
learned is the discipline by doing things when I didn't want to. I ended up running like 450 miles. I did not like running. So let me just be the one to tell you, I ran enough in soccer. I don't want to run anymore. But the creativity, the discipline, and doing things you don't want to do carried over. And what I would find myself doing is in those moments was like, I had proof and commitments that I kept to myself. And so the business started to accelerate, relationships accelerated. And this now became a connection point. So I don't want you guys to miss
Right.
this. I had people reaching out to me, not for business. And they said, hey, dude, I see what you're doing. Like, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? That led into two of my best relationships. By the way, for referrals and people that have joined our team, some of our foundation is on our faith and our fitness.
Right.
Like, guys, this is life. And so I want you to see that is when you start to share your journey and you do these hard things and you really embrace discipline, watch how your life opens up and people come into your life that one of my best mentors always says is you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So you're most powerfully positioned to serve that former version of you, right? So
Right.
Brian, when I was in decent shape, I would call myself a little bit out of shape for me. I can now go back and serve people. You can serve people because when you have that Post-it note and you're like, okay, I need to slow down, I need to be present, you can teach people those things. But it's
Yes.
only until you go through that storm, learn the lesson. The more lessons you do, the bigger your capacity. So anyway, that's my rant on that because I'm so passionate about those things is what drives me every day. I need to continually get better every day because the Brian in 5 years has to be so much more equipped, and I have to train. I have to get better at communication, better at my presence, better at my discipline, because only then will I be able to serve a larger group, which is really my mission. I want
Right.
to serve leaders that are going to build up other leaders that build up other leaders. Well, the only way that works is if I continue to get better.
Correct. You touched on so many things there, but you said one thing that I want to really hone in on. It's not the thing that you think I'm going to hone in on, probably. You said coaching. Now, you're top of your game right now. You're getting coached. You have multiple coaches from what I'm hearing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How important do you feel coaching is, even when you're at your highest level of your game, because you know you can go even higher?
Here's what I share is I fell into this trap. And so probably some people relate is seduced by success. This is one of the things one of my coaches shares. And actually, we're the most vulnerable when we're having success. You've had that great month and you see that great commission. You had a wonderful closing month. And then the next month you wonder like, why did that pull back? And I've had that in my life. And so I look at these patterns. And what I would tell you is a coach is there. And in my life, I've had several different coaches, but I have multiple coaches today for different reasons. And the reason for me is like we're one person. Like Stephen Covey talks about the whole person
Yeah.
theory. And I think about like you can't separate your business corporate life and what you do in the business world from what you do in your fitness, with what you do in your faith, with your family, with your friends. Like you are one person and you need to attack
Right.
those. So Ed Milet shared this the other day, and I'll just lead with this. And he said, you need to find people in your life that are further along in the journey, specifically in the area you want to grow the most. So I have
Right.
people in my life for my faith. I have men that are further along in their journey. I consider it very wise counsel, right? And like that's just, those are my guys, right? We have a text thread of 6 guys. They're a little bit older than I am. And so there's some wisdom. They've done some things. I have people in my life in business that have built teams bigger than mine. They're in the real estate side because I have a lot of friends in mortgage, but I also have one in the real estate side, and he's sold a company. He's built mega teams. And I go, well, I can learn from them. I have people in fitness because I've realized even as much success as I had there, I need a coach to hold me accountable in that area. Because for me, I go in and I need to know I'm on track. I need somebody to give
Right.
me feedback. And, Sue, the blind spots we all have can be seen by a coach. And that coach should be one to never do the work for you. But I always think about this is if you were to have this council of people, like the best of the best in every area of your life, and you were able to tap into their wisdom, their lessons. And if I were to go back and look at my mistakes, even over the last 5 years, had I asked that mentor or coach, hey, what would you do in this situation? I would have made a better decision than I made on my own. And I don't care who you are, you might be the most successful person, but when you add someone in that has a different perspective, they're going to share things with you. You go, oh, I didn't think about that. And I think
Yeah.
about, like, look, in our world, we all know this really well. Is people come to us because of our mortgage advice. I have friends that are in the mortgage business that come to me, I'm sure like you, and they go, hey, I don't want to do my loan. Like, what would you do if you're in my situation? This is what I'm thinking. And you ask the questions, and you're there. You're the guide, and you need a guide. And I always say this is, my belief is this, is you need great coaches, specifically in areas of your life that you want to grow and you're most focused on priorities. And you also need to coach back. If you've gotten
Hmm.
to a certain level, which you have, like, coach other people. That is what I believe God's equipped us to do, is get coached, coach other people.
Right. I wholeheartedly believe in that. Um, with your faith and your fitness and your business and your family, um, we have lots of F's. And so, um, how do you balance everything that you're doing? I mean, you're traveling, you're speaking, you're coaching, you're growing teams, you're recruiting. How are you? And you're a great dad to four great kids, husband. How do you handle all of that?
One, I would encourage everybody. The word balance has gotten a negative connotation. I actually moved away from it years ago. And the reason is, like, balance a lot of times talks about equal parts, and then you've got to figure out, okay, this part's going to be this and that. But any given day, what I say is you have priorities. And so my life is integrated. When I learned the term integration, and that can look very much like today, I'll just give a real example. I had my workout in the morning. I'd woken up with, our two kids are here. My wife's out of town with our daughter at soccer. We're talking this morning. We're going through real life. I get the kids fed. Fortunately, our oldest son is 16. So he takes our son to swim. They're doing that together. I get my workout in. I start my calls. I work out with our kids quite a bit. And so to me, that's integrating family time and workout. That's
Mhm.
healthy. As we were traveling last week with our son, he's reading a book. I'm reading a book, right? Like, we're doing things together that we're there. And I think too many times, and I struggle with this, is like, we think we got to go do this on our own. But if you invited your spouse or your kids on the journey and just said, hey, we're going to go do this, like, invite them into your business. I invited them into my presentation I gave last week
I
and just
love
asked for some
that.
feedback. Like, these are really simple things. The one that's changed the game for me is, like, when a lot of our kids play sports, probably listen to this, or they go do things, whatever that might be. And so at those, I don't just sit in a chair anymore and just watch, because the reality is,
Mhm.
that's my kids' time. Like, they don't want me hovering over them. I've kind of researched enough to know they want me there, but they don't want me, like,
There.
Hawkeye them. And so I started walking, running, listening to a podcast. There's other dads or people there that I want to connect up with. So walk with people, have conversations, go on your own, do your fitness. But for everybody to say that they don't have time, or they're thinking about, where do I integrate? Like, find where your priorities are. Most people struggle with the fitness and the workout side. And so I'd find ways to integrate that with your family. So you get family time and fitness together. And I always say this is, like, the other day, perfect world, Sue. Like, we're listening to praise and worship music. I'm working out with our youngest. And I'm like, this is great. Like, this is worship. I think that's how
Mhm.
God creates. Like, I'm listening to good music. I'm in my zone. I'm getting to work out with my kids. And then our oldest is leaving, going to his workout. And he sees dad, he sees me, and he made the comment to me. So he goes, I go, Davis, why didn't you say something to me? Like, tell me where you're going and all that. He goes, Dad, you look like you were huffing and puffing. And I was like, I was. It was a really hard workout, but I finished it. I didn't quit. And dude, it was hard. How was your workout? Like, I just think about these conversations and things,
Yeah.
integrate areas. I've taken my daughter to a speaking event that I've done. I'm taking my wife to an event coming up in July that we just talked about. So again, these are things that you do, right? You know this. So, like, we think that we can turn off our phone, but in our world, like, people call us, they need us, we're serving people. And I used to think, oh, I'm not going to take a call on a Saturday. Like, I'm going to be, Mr. Structured. The reality is that might be a call I need to take for 5 minutes. And my wife understands that. Now, we've had that communication of, if I take that call, you need to know it's important, because that's how we feed our family. That's how we do the
Correct.
trips. Like,
Yeah.
if you have these conversations and then you integrate things that you love with the people that you love, life really becomes more of a game, in the way of, it becomes fun. Like, where can I
Absolutely.
involve them and do things? And so that's my philosophy on this one.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. How do you see the industry evolving? You just were at Housing Wire. How do you see the industry evolving, and where do you think that's going today?
Ooh. Well, let's
Big
start
question.
macro, 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we can't ignore is technology and
Yeah.
AI and everything from Chat GPT to plenty of other tools, right? But that's probably the most common one used. And what I'm finding is there's this gap that's widening, unfortunately, from the people that have realized, one, the power and the opportunity that's there, not to replace you, not to replace roles. I really think the people that understand how to use that and manage their time. I'll give you a great example. It used to take me hours a week to create my content and to go through and think about, what am I going to do here? What am I going to write here? How am I going to get my presentation? Now I can go in and I have a companion, I say a guide, and I'm dumping my thoughts. I use the microphone button. And many times I'll just speak in my thoughts. Maybe in the middle of a run, I speak my thoughts, and it allows me to take my thought leadership and really put it in a framework to share with people that's in my voice. The more you do it, the more it sounds like you.
Right.
But Sue, where I'm probably the most worried, I'll say, in our industry, is too many people think that there's just going to be this like boom and the technology's here. Guys, it's like an iPhone. You might be on the 2, 3, 4, 5 version of it, and you have to go through each version and learn, okay, what's this? And by the time you get there, technology has moved, and so the goalposts keep moving. But if you don't get in the game, what I do know, I've talked to enough loan officers today in their 20s. By the way, one the other day that I'm working with, and he's going to do over 100 million in his 4th year.
That's amazing.
4th year. And yeah, you can say they have large loan amounts. We can make up excuses to why we're not there. That was their goal, by the way. And I look at that and go, okay, so it's possible. The market is there. And this aligns up with the divide we're seeing today, that it's really about the top 10%. When I was looking at the data the other day, are doing 90% of the production now.
Yes.
It actually might even be closer to 7% when I was really digging in, are doing 93% of the production. I mean, it's so different, Sue, than it used to be. You could look and go, here's the average producer. Now, what I would share with people is you have to get serious about this as a full-time sport. You have to commit to it like you're an athlete. You have to get coached, I believe, would be the first thing I would do. Get in a community of like-minded people. Get into a company that supports those things where you fit in, and whatever that model is. Or I say, there's some great companies out there. And I would also tell you this is, if you don't get serious about this, you're going to look up in a year or two. And when the market does turn, because we know we've been in this for an extended period, you're going to look up and wonder, how are all these people doubling and tripling their business? And I think it's going to be even bigger of a separation that's there. And the last piece I'll tell you is the people that are focusing on where their business comes from, you're tracking it, you're measuring it, and you're prescriptive about it. Meaning, I love financial planners. It's just my jam. Like, I love wealth building conversations. That's where I am in my life. Like, I enjoy reading about it. I enjoy studying it. You might be over here going, look, I love DPAs, first-time home buyers. The average age of first-time home buyers, that's where I am, the late 30s. Like, that might be you. You need to lean in and dominate a niche in the market and build your brand. Be so well known that people can't ignore you in your market. And also, now we have the opportunity across the country to be known and to get referrals. Right. And then the last one I would tell you is, you need to really be thinking about how serious and how committed you are to what success is for you. And I think for too long in our industry, 100 million, I got to do this. Look, you might be happy at 25 million, which is not a bad living, by the way. You might just say, that's me, and I want to go over here and do all these other things. But you need to own what success looks like and attack it every day, and literally be so passionate and aggressive about that and who you're becoming, that when you do the work, the wins and success will not escape you. Too many people are waiting.
If you don't have that path to success, you don't know where you're going, you're just floundering around because you don't have a path. If you see that vision and you know what you're going after, and I agree, the baton is the baton, whether it's a 25 million, 35 million, no matter what business you're in, you need to know what you want your success level to be. And you can pivot at different times. And I think that's something people also don't realize is what you feel success is at 30 might not be success at 50.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
True. Yeah.
That's okay. And it's just, the pivot is something super important. If you had what's one piece of advice that you use all the time? You've given so many people so many great nuggets over the last 30 minutes. What would be one thing that you feel you haven't said that you want to say? Like, what's something you use all the time?
Oh, my tagline for a lot of things is always learning and growing. And I would just encourage you, like, For me, what I've learned is every day I want to learn something new from somebody or reading a book or a podcast there. And then the growth for me is put yourself in a difficult situation. It's a difficult conversation. It's doing something that you maybe are not good at yet. Put yourself in those situations and you will grow. You will just look up in 90 days, and the goal should be that you're not even recognizable, right? And have ways to track that. But I would say that seems like when I look back on my success, and we can all reverse engineer and go, oh, this
Right.
season was my best. What did I do leading up to that season? What did I do in that season? And I just look for clues. As the saying goes, success does leave clues. And
Yes.
look back and where you had your most success, where you had your most fun, what were you doing, who were you with? And when you have those pieces to the puzzle, now you can replicate success. You shouldn't make it really difficult and fancy and challenging. Like, you've already been successful. Most everybody, I'm sure, listening to the show, they're
Right.
listening to the show because they want to get better. Well, go back to what worked and then replicate that. And if every day you attack it and you learn and you grow, you're going to win.
You're going to win. And we love that winners win more. We love
That's right.
that. So, um, takeaways were amazing, Brian. Measuring success, communication, powerful, golden nuggets, faith, family, and discipline. And fitness. There's so many takeaways from the last 30 minutes. I am so grateful that you're all over the place. Number one, I see you all over. You're all over social media, which I absolutely love. You know, I'm a big social media fan. And I just love that I was able to meet you at Cindy's and our paths crossed. Super grateful for that, and super grateful that you've been on Grab Your Keys. So if people want to reach out to you, how would they touch base with you?
Oh, easiest way. I'm on LinkedIn a lot and
You
Instagram.
are.
Those are easy. And someone took my name. So on Instagram, it's at the Brian Covey because someone had Brian Covey.
Well,
So
you are
actually,
the Brian Covey.
that's what I said. I was like, well, that's cool. And my friends had that one and I laughed too. But please reach out. And I mean this sincerely. As people reach out on there, and I do respond to my own DMs, I've
Me
made some
too. Yeah.
friendships. And I would say this is, if I can help you make a connection, or after Housing Wire, I'm doing all these discovery calls with people. It is really one of my passions. I believe part of why God has called me to do some of this is like, I just want to help people because people help me. Let's
Right.
be real. Like, I didn't get to here without people giving me some type of advice or a connection. If I can do that for you, man, that's great. Let's
Yeah.
collaborate and do that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Everyone, thank you so much, Brian, for being on here. If you like this, please share it and like it. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Grab Your Keys.